Hello guys, in this video I am going to teach you how internet actually works. Before understanding how internet actually works, we need to understand one point. That is, we human knows each other by names. Like I know a person whose name is Aziz, I know a person whose name is Hassan. That is exactly same in all of the human, that we all human knows each other by name. But this is not the case in computers. Computer knows each other by address, and that address is known as IP address. This address is unique for each computer. That is, if my computer want to connect with this computer, my computer need an address which is of this thing. This computer has a unique address which is this thing is known as IP address for this computer, and this computer to connect with this computer, my computer need this computer's address. So let's assume that this is the Google's computer and the website www.google.com is hosted on this server. Okay, assume that this website is of google.com. Now whenever I type www.google.com, how will my computer knows that I need to go to this server? This server is actually a computer, so how will my computer knows that I has to go to this server and then this file should be fetched? This is because of DNS. DNS, now understand here, first whenever you type www.google.com, the request is sent to the ISP, that is internet service provider. Okay, these internet service providers are the people or a company from whom you bought the subscription of the internet. The request from the ISP is then sent to the DNS. DNS stands for domain name servers. Okay, here you have provided the name, that is a domain name. The domain name is sent to the DNS. The DNS knows that www.google.com is hosted in the server having IP address 216.58.10.210.46. So now here you can see DNS contains two things. Number one is the website domain name, and the second thing is the IP address of that computer who is hosting that website. Now this DNS will send one thing back, that is the IP address. This thing is sent to ISP by the DNS. Now this ISP, internet service provider, will then send this thing back to the browser. Now once this IP address is sent back to the browser, now browser knows that www.google.com is hosted in this server. Now the browser will send request to this server. Now how will the browser send the request? Exactly same. It will send the request to the ISP. The ISP then send the request to this server. Okay, so now once the request is sent to this server will give this file to the ISP. This file will basically contain three files. Number one is HTML file, number file, second is CSS file, and the third is JavaScript file. We are totally concerned about this thing, HTML file, that is sent back by the web server to the ISP. Now these files are sent back to the browser. Once the browser receives the file that is sent by the ISP to the browser will then render these files and display it on your browser. That is how your internet actually works. So keep this thing in mind. If you know the IP address of the server where the website is hosted, you can directly provide the IP address here. The request is sent to the ISP. The ISP send the request to the server directly. Now here there is no work of DNS because DNS is providing you the IP address, but the IP address you have already provided by yourself, so the request is directly sent. Now you are getting the work of DNS. That DNS is only required because we cannot remember these IP addresses. We are familiar with the names, like we know each other by name, so we are familiar with these names. Okay, but we doesn't want to remember this whole IP address. That's why we created the DNS. Okay, so if you write directly the IP address, the request is sent to the ISP. The ISP send the request to the server. The server give the data back to the ISP. The ISP give it back to the browser, and the browser will display your web page. Hope this is clear.